Quem quer fazer pergunta, levanta a mão que eu e o Alexandre vamos... Pode.
Hi, Rodolfo from Play TV. I was wondering about your process, songwriting process of those new songs. What gets harder and what gets easier after all these years? And about working with your wife, writing with your wife. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
I don't know if the process gets harder or easier. I've been enjoying it a lot in the last 2 or 3 years, and I'm very happy with the way it's been going. And working with my lovely wife, Holly, is an enormous pleasure for me, and is very satisfying. She's more than a lyricist and helps me in many, many ways, and it's fantastic to be able to work that way. And yes, it's not a new thing. It's been going on since 1993, so 22 years we have been working together, building up as time has gone on.
Mr. Gilmour, here. There's a Brazilian musician in your band.
There is?
Yeah.
Mr. Gilmour,
a very young gentleman named Gilmour. And I want to answer you how this young sax player joined your band.
Well, we were very lucky in that a friend of ours was working with Joe. In fact, Phil had worked with him a bit as well, and introduced him. We needed a sax player, and there are some old sax parts on the old records, and some sax and clarinet parts and things on the new record. And like magic, Joao turned up and is doing a fantastic job. He's great for someone so young.
Hello, Mr. Gilmour. André Gonzalez for Modern Drummer magazine. What are the
What would you like to know about drumming?
It's a shame. Speaking about your albums, I want to know what are the inspirational differences between the last one, On an Island, and this one, Rema de la Loc.
Inspiration builds up towards whatever project you're working on. I can't pin down what the difference in inspiration between the On an Island album and this album is, except perhaps that at that time we were living a very much more rural existence and life was a bit slower, and we're living in a town now by the sea, and it's a little bit livelier. Whether that has any bearing on it or not, I've no idea, but you could say that the difference between that album and this album is that perhaps that this one's a little bit more up-tempo. There's no difference in the process.
Mr. Gilmour, Rich from 89. After an illustrious career of shows, tours, albums, what are you excited about on this tour? What makes this tour special for you?
That I'm still here to do it. It's great. I mean, it's really nice to come for the first time ever for me to come to Brazil and Argentina, Chile, and play concerts. It was in our earlier years. It never seemed possible. We never thought we would get here because of the complications of the travel and the various things that have happened that one hears about with people who've come here in the past and the difficulties. And so it's a treat now to be able to come here and for the first time be able to do a show.
Hello, it's a pleasure for us to be here, I guess. And I'm from Chile, and I welcome you to South America. It's an honor to have you finally here. Well, what would you like to say to Chile? They are listening to you right now. So please, you're in a couple of days you are to play there. So,
what can I say? I'm really looking forward to playing in Chile. and it would be terrific. I've never been to Santiago, I've never been to Chile, never been to the Atacama Desert, never been to any of those places, but it's a thrill to be coming to do a concert there.
Puedo darle un mensaje al pueblo de Chile también, de nosotros, que estamos muy entusiasmados para venir a Chile por primera vez y toda la banda va a ser una experiencia buenísima para nosotros. Es muy importante y especial.
He speaks Spanish. Who knew?
Not Portuguese.
David, my name is Gaston from Kiss FM. I'd like to know about the set list. I know that you're about to play Astronomy Domain. Is it a kind of tribute to Syd Barrett? And why don't you play any song from your first 2 solo albums?
It's a hard job picking a set list that pleases me and I think will please people. It's tricky, but yeah, we're doing a set list that I think covers most areas, but I'm afraid, you know, in all these years, since 1968, there's an awful lot of material, and some just has to get left out. And, you know, sometimes there are issues that are covered in songs that no longer seem to be quite so relevant for the current moment. But we've tried to do a song or two from all the period of Pink Floyd's history. And sometimes when Pink Floyd's history and my solo career's history are close together in time, it's better to play some of the better known songs. I'm sorry if we're not playing your favourites.
Hi, my name is Roger. Mr. Gilmour, you've been working with some of your musicians for a long time. Could you talk about long-time companion collaboration with one of these musicians, Mr. Phil Manzanera, and Mr. Manzanera, how it is to work with Mr. Gilmour, please?
Well, Phil and I go back a long, long way. Since before he was in Roxy Music, I met him through his brother, Eugene.
That's right. I went to ask advice from David when I was 16 about what you do to become a professional musician. And I think you had just joined, literally. You were...
I don't know how long I've been here. I don't know what year that was.
No, I'll tell you, it was in January 1968.
Was it?
And you left for lunch and you went to Abbey Road. You were recording. You recorded? That's the one.
Yeah. Well, I'd forgotten exactly when it was, but we go back a long, long way. And I think the first time we collaborated properly was on a track or two that we worked on for the Momentary Lapse of Reason Pink Floyd album in 1987.
Okay.
You're still here?
Yeah.
Hi, Mr. Gilmour.
Like here.
I am Marcos from a website called A Ilha do Metal, and rock and roll had a lot of great guitar players, and you know you made part of this. What do you think your legacy to the following generation?
Gosh, I think that's something for you to answer, not me, isn't it? You tell me. I don't know. I play it. I don't have to think about how it's affecting other people.
Hi, Mr. Gilmour. I'm Alba from Agencia F and also from Lettertera from Chile, so I'll continue with that question. My question is the following. Why did you choose to play in Chile, which is not a place normally included in musical tours? And if you happen to admire or know any rhythm music from Chilean music? Thank you.
Well, you know, these tours are set up by management people and agencies, and it depends on who wants what and what we can do within the given time frame and what is convenient. I didn't personally choose which places we were going to play. My manager, along with agencies here and in London, made those decisions. And asked me if that was okay with me, and I said that sounded great to me. So I can't really help you with that. And I have to confess, my knowledge of Chilean music is limited.
Mr. Gilmour, Sergio Martins from Benjamin's. You played Comfortably Numb with Roger Waters in one of the Wall tours. And Mr. Waters said that it began as a joke, that you always said, what if I go to the stage and play one song, what people would say? I would like to know if it's true, what Mr. Waters said, and how was to play it with him?
It didn't start as a joke, in my memory, but the memory is a strange thing. And as I remember it, I was trying to persuade Roger. Holly's idea was that we should... I had been asked to play at a charity concert for a charity called Hoping, which is for Palestinian children. And I had asked Roger if he would appear on that show with me. And I wanted him to sing this song, at Polly's suggestion, the song called To Know Him Is to Love Him by the Teddy Bears, written by Phil Spector. And Roger said he wasn't going to sing that song. He said, no, it's outside of my comfort zone. And so I pushed and badgered him and said that I would appear at one of his concerts if he would do this thing for me. And that's when he agreed to do it.
It wasn't random that you were going to sing that, because you told me that you used to sing it at sound checks.
That's right, we did. In the early years of Pink Floyd, as we would do concerts in Europe and America places, we would sound check in the afternoon, and it often got very boring to sound check our own songs, so we would sometimes do other songs. And one of the songs that we did do in the early 70s at soundcheck was me and Roger singing that song together. And I had told Polly this, and she said, you must do that again. I mean, it is, there is definitely some humour in the two of us singing those lyrics to each other.
And then, David, I think you then said that if he did it, you would play Comfortably Numb at one of his shows in return, which is how it came about.
Okay.
Hi, Mr. Gilmour. Here. Hi, Paul. Hi, everyone. Well, here in Sao Paulo, our students are camping in public schools, asking for a better education. And do you see that Head of the Lock lyrics inspired situations or reflected this situation?
Sorry, I'm afraid I didn't quite understand what you said.
Did you understand?
Sorry. The students... Yeah, the students, they're taking over public schools. So she would like to know if Red Hotel Lock can be inspired for them, or if it has something to do, if it reflects that kind of thing. Because the students, they are taking over public schools to make a better school. They wanted to close it.
Yeah, no, it's a song which is about not being apathetic about any form of protest. It's about, you may not be able to change anything, but if you go and, you know, rattle whatever sort of lock it is, whatever restriction it is, en masse, things get changed, but even if they don't, you will feel better than if you did nothing. I think that's the sort of thinking behind the lyric.
Hi, Mr. Gilmour. How does it feel to be finally here in Brazil? And are you preparing anything special for the fans that have been waiting for so long for you?
No, we're preparing a very special show, of course. And it's, as I said before, it's a thrill to be here in South America, in Brazil. It's something that I've been looking forward to for a very long time. I'm very happy to be here.
Good morning. If I'm allowed, I'd like to ask a question for Polly and one for Mr. Gilmour. For Polly, I know you're a writer, and I'd like to know what's the difference between writing lyrics and fiction, since you have in your book. And for Mr. Gilmour, in 2005, you and the guys from Pink Floyd got back together for the Live Aid concert. I'd like to know, how was the mood between you guys, and why nothing new came out of that concert, since you would be, I mean, I'm sure it would be like such a big commercial success, and also people were so excited about, you know, something new coming out of that. Please. Thank you very much.
First, the difference between writing fiction and lyrics, I suppose the greatest difference is that the music usually comes first, apart from, in one instance, which was that last Pink Floyd album, The Endless River, and the song Louder Than Words, which was written without a piece of music. But on the whole, David's music comes before the lyric, and so I'm writing with a very strong prompt and quite a strong emotional prompt. Whereas when I'm writing a novel, it's got to all come from within me, and there's no lovely musical prompt to help me along my way. I think that's the short answer.
In terms of the format, the format, lyrics, and novel.
The format?
Yeah.
Structure.
The difference between lyrics and a novel, like fiction.
I suppose lyrics being a short set of lyrics being a shortened, thank you, Dick. Yeah. A shortened sort of thing, whereas a novel is obviously a huge body of work, but lyrics, it's like hiking type.
Yeah, I mean, you can
scenario.
you have the whole lyric in your head, and you can keep perfecting it, and you keep playing the music and sort of singing along and changing it. It's very difficult to keep a whole novel in your head.
And if we were talking about 2005 and Live 8, on the night that we did it, it was very joyful, and yes, it felt like a circle had been sort of finished, closed off, and the rehearsals were quite tense at times.
Why?
Because we have a lot of painful history between us.
Okay.
And
Set list wasn't straightforward, was it?
no, there were a lot of initial arguments about what songs we should play, how it was supposed to be. In the end, I had to tell Roger that he was being a guest with Pink Floyd, that the songs that I was going to choose were the ones we were going to do. And so there were some moments of tension, as you can imagine. And those moments of tension aren't things that I look forward to repeating. So there was no great interest, for me anyway, in continuing or in thinking about doing more work with that particular bunch of people. As you said, there was a large commercial incentive, but commercial incentives aren't what I'm into at this stage of my life.
Thank you.
Actually, can I just say a few things that just change the subject completely and talk about Rattle That Lock, and how great it's been working with these two creative people. And not only David, but Polly as well in the studio has contributed a lot musically, and she refused to be called a co-producer, so we are the co-producers. But not only, just having finished your book, which I think is out this week in Brazil, the kindness, isn't it?
Un atto di bondade.
Really? Well done. I've been practicing. Fantastic.
Was that all right, pronunciation? Good.
But the process, I think they've sort of refined it over the last 20 years. You say you've been working together for 20 years. I think it's really come to a very good point now, where you have a very good understanding and you work quite quickly, actually, because once, yes, the music was got together over a period of 5 years, but once you picked on which songs to do between the two of you, you really got on, and it was within a couple of months. So even though this album, in theory, there's a big gap between On an Island and this album, it actually was only done in a few months, from January to March. I thought I'd just throw that in for people who might be interested.
Hi, Mr. Gilmour. This new record has a variety of different influences, like jazz and pop, stuff like that. So my question is, now that the Pink Floyd chapter is really over, do you feel more free to explore this different kind of stuff that maybe didn't work within the context of the band?
You might think that, but I was not aware of ever not doing anything within Pink Floyd that came up. And we covered a lot of different styles within Pink Floyd, but Pink Floyd makes them all sound like they are cohesive. I hope that happens with my record too. I don't feel freer, but that just happens to be the way some of the music has come out. It wasn't a deliberate thing. It's just, yeah, I don't think we ever didn't play something within Pink Floyd because we didn't think it would fit stylistically.
Hi, David. I'm speaking from guitar player, Brazilian version. I'm sorry about my English is very bad. My first question is for the saxophone player. I would like is how to play with David Gilmour.
Well, it is a complete honour, for sure. I mean, Pink Floyd is a band that I've been listening to since a very young child, and to have the chance to play David's band is a complete honour, and it's been a great pleasure. It's been a lot of fun as well, and yeah, I'm very grateful for that happening, and thank you, Phil Manzanera, as well, for making the connection between us. So.
And also, you wouldn't have got the gig unless you were very good. He takes no prisoners, this man. So, you know, well done. And it's great to have, you know, a young player in the band, especially now coming back to Brazil, you know, his home country.
He's only pretending to be from Brazil. You can hear he speaks perfect English.
I'm a liar, I'm a liar.
Say something in português.
E realmente é um grande prazer estar aqui ao Brasil também, com uma grande lenda como o David. E realmente, assim, vai ser incrível tocar em Curitiba, que é a minha cidade natal. Aqui também, tenho família e amigos aqui, então vai ser, simplesmente foi uma oportunidade inesquecível. E é isso mesmo.
Next question is about your guitar model, because it's only made by Fender Custom Shop, and so very expensive for young guitar players. Is there an idea to make a model? I don't know how to say it.
Cheaper.
Cheaper. Yeah, that's it.
Fender wanted to make a guitar model of mine, and they tend to make two varieties of guitars for well-known guitar players, and one is very, very expensive. I mean, 4 or 5 times as much as my model guitar, or they make a very cheap model. So they have two varieties, very cheap, very expensive, and I refused to go for either of those options because the very cheap model only looks like the model of guitar that people think they're getting, and I couldn't see the point in having a guitar that was just black and was any other old Fender off the shelf. And I thought it was insulting to have these ridiculously expensive ones. So myself, with my guitar tech, Phil Taylor, examined every single aspect of my guitar that I play. Clear off. And we have done a very extensive job of finding the right pickups that sounded like mine and getting everything as perfect as it can be. A lot of work went into that guitar, and I'm sorry about the price. It's quite expensive, as you say, but it's not hugely expensive, and it's impossible to make a proper one that is as good as that and is consistent with Fender any other way. I'm sorry, that was the best we could do.
Hi, Mr. Gilmour, Bruna from Billboard. I wanted to know what are your 5 favorite albums of all time, and just 5, and which artist would you want to go see live today?
Gosh, I mean, there's too many albums. I can't tell you the 5 favourite albums of all time. It changes all the time. I very much like Nick Cave's album, Push the Sky Away, that came out a couple of years ago. That's one of my favourite in modern times. I believe he lived here in Sao Paulo for a few years. Was it in Rio? Great album. No, I don't know what I can't give you my favourite albums, I'm afraid. What was the other part of your question?
Which artist would you want to go see live?
I'd love to go and see Leonard Cohen. That's who I'd like to go and see again.
David, your voice is very easily recognizable. But first time that I heard Rattle That Lock, I couldn't recognize your voice. Could I say that you were trying something new about singing?
No.
Not at all? In a different tone, you're singing a bit higher?
I had the backing track complete. I'd sung some la-la-las over it. Holly came up with the lovely, great words. We went into my studio, Holly and I, and we turned on the microphone and the track, and I sang it, and that's how it came out. There's no mystery or magic. It's just how it is.
I think that maybe because it's an up-tempo number,
it's so rare
that you sing it with more attack.
Yeah.
And so it's got more distortion in your voice or something, and that's maybe why people didn't recognise it, whereas your other voice can be quite angelic, really.
El Professor always has the answers.
Hello, I'm Marcus from Command Rock here. And I have a question for you, David Gilmour. It's about your second record, About Face. It's the more pop-oriented record you ever released. And my question would be, has Phil something to do that he is the co-producer for this new record, Rattle That Clock? That this Rattle That Clock had to be pop-oriented as well, so it could be that successful as About Face, your second record.
Gosh, I've no idea that I was making a pop record. Well, obviously I'm a pop musician. Did you push me into making a more pop record film? Is it a bad thing?
No, I mean, you just made the record you wanted to make. You in the end, you and Polly chose those 10 or 11 tracks to work on out of 30 or 40 tracks. That's how you were feeling that day when you chose them, and you decided to finish them off. But in essence, it's you. It's what you and Polly are about now. It's all about the two of you.
We're always, every year, every one of us is in a slightly different frame of mind. And I listen to some demos that I've made years ago, and I think, well, that's something I liked then, and I listen to it and I can't understand why I liked it at that moment. And other ones that I didn't like then, I listen to again and think, that's actually rather nice. So it is just a different mood that I must be in at this particular stage of my life that makes it a slightly different mood of record. I can't give you a better answer, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Mr. Gilmour, as a musician, is there anything that you haven't done yet that is still on your list of things that you really want to accomplish?
I wish I knew. I don't know the answer to that. No, there's nothing that I can specify that I haven't done that I really want to do. I want to make more good music, which will I will enjoy as I make it, and hopefully will give some of that enjoyment to other people.
Hello, Mr. Gilmour. Here. I'm Flavia from Allianz Park. And first I'd like to say it's an honor to receive you here. And as you said previously, you have never been to Brazil or South America due to the lack of structure. And I'd like to know, what are you thinking about the structure that you have already seen here?
About
the structure.
I've been in a van.
Is it good?
From the airport to a hotel and then here. It's a little early. I haven't seen anything of Brazil yet.
Okay,
I'm afraid. I can't really help you there yet.
Okay, so I hope you enjoy Allianz Park structure and have a good show with a good acoustic.
We'll do our best. Thank you very much.
Mr. Gilmour, who are the guitar players that influenced you, that was the references?
There's so many. There's so many guitar players, if you want to say references or influences. You know, Leadbelly, Pete Seeger, Joni Mitchell, John Fay, Eric Clapton, Jimi Hendrix, to name them all. Well-known popular ones. Leadbelly. Did I say Leadbelly? Yes. Sorry, twice. Yeah, hundreds. Jeff Beck, obviously, always. There's so many. Hank Marvin.
Phil Manzaneri, yeah.
Phil Manzaneri.
Okay, thanks.
What about you, Phil? Well, I have a slightly, I was brought up in Cuba and Venezuela and Colombia, so I have starting from a different trajectory. But when I listened to the radio to England, and the Beatles started coming, then I was just obsessed by that. And George Harrison, I just loved George Harrison. And when I went to England, then it was all the people like that who came to England: Jimi Hendrix, Peter Green, Clapton, Pete Townsend, Joe Beck, the whole history of guitarists. David Gilmour. Twice. So good I said it twice. Just like New York.
Please. Hi. Gilmour, I would like to ask a question for your wife. How do you feel writing important songs like from Division Bell, from Hit the Lock? How do you feel writing special songs in the voices of your husband? How do you feel see these songs alive?
It's a voice I know very well. And the most thrilling moment is when the lyric is first written and the first time he sings it. It's incomparable. I think that's the best answer I can give.
And how do you feel, David, singing for songs from your wife?
Something, I've always liked to be in a team of people. I've never particularly set out to do what I have, what it appears to be now with my name on it. I always liked being a part of something, and to be together in life and in work with this woman is an honour and a thrill, and it really is. It's a nice way to work, and I want to keep that going. It's terrific.
Mr. Gilmour?
Yes.
Mr. Gilmour for Futuro Radio again, for Chile. You teach us how to fly. You took us out of this world. So,
sorry, say again?
You took us to the other side of the moon in a way. You teach us how to fly. How do you see, after teaching us how to see the planet, how do you see society today after the scene that happened at the Le Bataclan in Paris and all that stuff?
I don't know if I want to get into all that. There's, it's a very, very long, complicated story of why the Muslim world has, in part, become so discontent, and a lot of it is to do with the failures of the people in the West. But the actual real danger of this Daesh or ISIL seems to me to be rather exaggerated. It's not a huge thing in the world, and I'm sure a way will be found to get over it, but it's going to take a long time.
Hi again. I was wondering, do you think the world is going to see anytime soon another rock generation that like the one they had in the 60s, 70s, 80s?
A what?
Another rock generation like the ones in the 70s and 80s?
I don't know. I'm not a prophet.
I don't think it's going to happen. That was then, you know, it's a product of so many things in society. What music you get, you sort of get the music you deserve, really. It's like the 80s.
You can't predict that sort of thing. You know, you can just hope that it'll happen. It doesn't feel to me like there's anything like that outpouring about to happen, but I could very well be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong.
Vamos para a última pergunta, the last question.
Oh, you said that you're not familiar to the music from Chile. What about the Brazilian music then?
I don't really know much about South American music, you know, except what we have heard on the radio in England and what you see connected to the street festivals and things that go on over here. So it's not something of which I have an education. I'm sorry.
Obrigado, pessoal.
Thank you.